Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Austin and to the 2010 version of Renewable Energy World Conference and Exhibition North America. I'm David Wagman. I'm the conference committee chairman for this conference this afternoon. I'm also the editor of Power Engineering Magazine and Renewable Energy World North America, and it's a great pleasure to see all of you here today and welcome you to the conference. I wonder, before we start, I wanted to recognize members of the conference planning committee who may be in attendance. If any of you are here, please stand up so the audience can recognize you. These are the people who put together the conference program. There's Ram Narula and others who put together the conference program this week. Thank you very much for your work. We have a very full couple of hours ahead of you. This is going to be a great keynote session. I'm not going to take very long with my remarks. We have an outstanding keynote panel, and then we're going to be giving out awards. This is the first annual Renewable Energy Excellence Awards that we're going to be giving out later on this afternoon. Our theme and primary area of interest this year is on transmission and the continued successful integration of renewable resources in the generation mix. Our four speakers today are at the center of local, national, and state policy discussions on these critical issues. I'm certain that their presentations will shed even more light, of course generated by renewable resources, more light on these important areas of concern for the industry. We know that the weather was a little snowy outside, but every day really is a good day for renewable energy. If it's a sunny day, it's great for the solar people. If it's a windy day, it's terrific for wind. If it's a mix of rain, snow, and sleet like today, then that's good for hydro resources. So everything is good. And you remember, any school child can tell you that April showers bring May flowers. What they may not realize, though, is that those April flowers turn into biomass. So it's all good with renewables. It's all green. If you find school kids, if you find a community that understands the idea of biomass to any greater extent than in Austin, I would be surprised. Our first keynote speaker is the general manager of Austin Energy, and this utility has done just an outstanding job nationally in raising awareness and in setting some very aggressive and very ambitious goals for renewable energy for their community. Austin Energy is the 9th largest public power utility in the country. It's nationally recognized for having some of the most advanced and comprehensive energy efficiency and green building programs. Roger Duncan has more than 2 decades of experience in city government, including 2 terms as a city council member. He joined the utility in 1998 as Vice President for Conservation, Renewable, and Environmental Policy. And next week, or actually just in a few days, he's retiring from Austin Energy. We are indeed fortunate to welcome him here today to present one of his valedictory talks. His career achievements really place him among the utility CEO elites when it comes to creative thinking about renewable energy. Please join me in welcoming Roger Duncan.
Thank you very much, David. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to welcome all of you to Austin. It's very unusual for us to have snow here in Austin. I think Commissioner Wellinghoff brought some with him from Washington. They had an excess there. But it's a great opportunity to talk to you, and as some of you have heard me speak before, you tend to know I tend to get in front of a mic and a bunch of people, and I start talking about the future of energy systems. And if you say a bunch of outrageous stuff enough times, by the law of averages, some of it comes true. And so you get a reputation for that. And since I'm retiring in a couple of days, I feel even less constrained. So I will try not to disappoint today. And I'm not going to do a PowerPoint. You're going to see lots of PowerPoints in the next couple of days. But I want to talk at a high level of what I think is going to be happening over the next decade and the future of energy systems, and then end with what I think lies in our far future for energy. And the question is, what's going to happen in the next 10 years in particular? Because I think at that time we're looking at the need for tens of thousands of megawatts to not only meet new load growth, but hopefully to start replacing some aging coal plants around the country. And where is that going to come from? And when you start looking at that in particular, not only the volume of energy needed, but the particular generation characteristics needed to replace a coal plant, such as we have here in Austin, and we've just gone through an exercise of what it would take just to ramp down our coal plant by 2020 to about 60% capacity factor. I think that it becomes clear that although all renewable energy is in a good position and is expanding rapidly, not everything is going to be in the forefront and the leader in grabbing that share over the next decade. So I'm going to tell you first what our fuels and technologies I think will not be meeting that need, and then some that will. First of all, coal. There are going to be some new coal plants built in the next decade. I don't think very many around the country. The environmental characteristics obviously are the main stoppers. Clean coal technology, carbon capture and sequestration is certainly being worked on, but I think people will, if they're candid, will tell you there hadn't been much progress on that for some time. There will be a handful of demonstration projects and the capture of the carbon coming from coal over the next decade, but the technology is not going to be commercially available in large volumes, certainly this decade. And the sequestration problem, the volume of CO2 that has to be sequestered is just enormous, and things like enhanced oil recovery and such don't even start to cut into the volume of sequestration that's needed. So clean coal is not going to provide tens of thousands of megawatts, in my opinion, over the next decade. Neither is nuclear. And I'm an old anti-nuclear activist. That's how I started my career. I'm one of the people who have switched opinions. I think that global warming is a much more serious concern than the handling of nuclear waste. Nonetheless, I don't think you're going to have more than a handful of new nuclear plants coming online by the end of this decade, maybe 10 or so. The cost is the construction cost is the main constraint. There's also a workforce issue in the number of nuclear engineers that we have and so forth to get these built. There's not going to be tens of thousands of megawatts of nuclear power come online to handle the baseload needs of shutting down old coal plants. Biomass is growing and will continue to grow. It is a good technology. Austin Energy is buying the power from a 100 megawatt biomass plant coming online 2 years from now in East Texas. But again, the volume of electricity that we need nationwide, I think you will see biomass grow, but it's not going to be in tens of thousands of megawatts. The 100 megawatt plant we're bringing online is one of the largest in the country in biomass. And I think you're going to start running into fuel issues the same as the biofuel industry did eventually with biomass. So it's going to fill a good sector, but it's not going to be the major source in the next 10 years. Which brings us to solar. Utility solar is growing and growing rapidly. We've gotten out of the kilowatt stage and the megawatts. Now we're into hundreds of megawatts being developed, and you'll see, large growth in the solar industry over the next decade. It's going to have a strong niche. Again, though, I don't see tens of thousands of megawatts being done in that time frame. Beyond then, certainly, but in that time frame, solar is going to take a good portion of the market, but also in dealing with shutting down aging coal plants, the generation characteristics of utility-scale solar doesn't match very well for the nighttime baseload needs of particular plants, and that's what we've run into here in Austin. Now, distributed solar and photovoltaic solar I think is a different ballgame, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. But where I think over the next decade you're going to get the most of the new generation coming online is going to be a battle between wind and natural gas. And wind is now, the technology is certainly mature. The transmission system is the main bottleneck to